What's going on, everybody out there? This is Grand Prix GTP02 here once more up here at Opel Hyundai here in North Houston, Texas. And today, for y'all's viewing pleasure and entertainment, I am pleased to introduce yet another small, fuel-efficient, four-cylinder compact hatchback that is certainly a stranger here on the roads of the United States, but is no stranger to the roads of countries abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2008 Saturn Astra XE. Now, most of my European car enthusiasts and friends are already yawning and probably wanting to exit out of this review already for a very good reason. You guys are probably saying, oh, well, we've had that car over here in Europe for years. Why the heck are you just now getting it? Well, we didn't just now get it, but this was one of the last cars that General Motors brought over from their European divisions to try to save the Saturn brand as one of the few subsidiaries of General Motors that ultimately went belly up in the late 2000s. Now, the Astra was available in a couple of different trims. This one here is the XE. This is kind of the basic model, if you will. The only two that I can remember off the top of my head are the XE as the base model, and then of course the XR. The XR was kind of the more high-performance version, but it wasn't anything special. It wasn't like the Astra VXR that belongs to General Motors' Vauxhall and Opel divisions overseas. Now, the Astra is one of those cars that, again, you just don't see it on the roads of today here in America, and that's because they didn't sell very many of them. Saturn, as you know, is one of GM's subsidiaries that really didn't do all that well here in the US, at least in some of their later vehicles. Cars like the Ion, their L series of vehicles, the Astra, the convertible Sky, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, again, Saturn went belly up in about 2008 to 2009. So what you're looking at is one of the last surviving examples of modern-day General Motors vehicles to come out of the Saturn brand. Now, for me personally, I actually kind of like the shape of this car. It's quirky, it's cheeky, it's even somewhat fun looking, but being a basic car, I can tell you that this car is a definite under $10,000 car for a very good reason. But let's start with the good things. For a start, look at the headlights. I actually like the fact that this car has these upgraded black bezeled projector beam headlights. These are standard halogen lights. They aren't HIDs or anything like that. But I love the sculpted look of it. Very, very much a European design and a very much European look. Now, the grille, again, that's again European design. Normally there would be a big circular Vauxhall or Opel badge across the front of this vehicle, but as you can see, you have the typical red and chrome of that unique Saturn badge that graced so many of General Motors' sort of lesser equipped economy cars. Now, being the XE, this one really doesn't have a whole lot of options, as I mentioned a couple times already. As you can see, this one here does not have any sort of fog lights at all. If you got the Astra XR, that was where you started getting fog lights, a better interior, no real, gains in terms of performance. It's still pretty much the same engine across the whole line, but really the XR was the more hot-looking car, so to speak. Now, as you can see, I really like the color of this. This is their Twilight Blue Metallic, and it only came with one particular interior color, which is the ebony cloth, or I believe you could get a leather upholstered interior. But also here on the XE, you can distinguish this one as the more basic model. Even though it does not have steel hubcaps, it does have the smaller wheels. These are 16-inch silver-painted aluminum alloy wheels. On the XR, you could get a couple, probably about an inch or so bigger wheels with lower profile tires, a little bit better handling, and a little bit better performance. Now, coming around to the back of the Saturn Astra, again, very, very much a European design. Now, I can tell you pretty much every woman, man, child, even the police overseas have used these cars in one form or another, from everything from a first-time driver to having them for an entire police force. I know that the British police, to be specific, used these when they were around in this particular design in a diesel format to actually use as their patrol vehicles and stuff like that, and even for high-speed chases, even though overseas they have some pretty powerful cars, and a little tiny compact diesel hatchback really was not meant for high-speed runs and things like that. But again, this car is just so rare, I just had to show it to you guys, even though many of you Europeans out there are probably looking at this thing going, oh yeah, it's just another boring Vauxhall, Opel, Saturn, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's just another boring 5-door hatchback from General Motors. Now, we've had a good walk around to the exterior of this thing, so let's go ahead and take a better look at the inside. Here's the key for the car. You can see it's a General Motors style inverted cut switchblade key, but as you can see, the labels on this thing are rather different. The left side button here is your unlock. It looks like a door that's opening. The right side button here is to lock the vehicle. So let's go ahead and open her up. As you can see, key blade just flips open pretty easily. And once you open the door, you're greeted by a sea of plastic and somewhat cheap feeling cloth and materials. Like I said, this is one of General Motors' last hurrahs to save what is essentially known as their economy brand here in the United States. As you can see, the seats are relatively flat. They do have some bolstering and some pretty decent support, but they're not the best in the business by a long shot. Now, you could get this car with 2 available transmissions. As you can see, this one here is the electronically controlled 4-speed automatic. You could get a manual transmission in either the XE or the XR. But nevertheless, even though being a base model, this one does have some power creature comforts. You have power mirrors, all your left and right mirror controls. You have all your power windows. I believe it only has an automatic driver's side window. You have small chrome trim door handles, and you also have window locks as sort of its own separate little switch right here between the 2 rear powered windows. As far as everything else goes, it looks plasticky, but actually, believe it or not, it does give. It actually has a slight bit of give to it, a slight bit of padding, but nevertheless, very firm, very plasticky type materials here pretty much on all surfaces of the door. You do have these cloth padded door panels here, but nevertheless, again, the styling, very, very much basic, very much economical, and really just your basic way of getting from point A to point B. Well, that's what most people want in a car nowadays, you know, with people, or with the economy being as erratic as it is. It's really no surprise that people are just trying to find cheap ways to get around town. Now, as you can see, I'm just fiddling with the seat controls here. Seats are manually adjustable. You have your manual recline. You don't even have manual height adjustment as far as, oh wait, no, yes you do. I'm trying to find the recline somewhere. I think it's back here. Yeah, you have your manual recline as far as a wheel right here. You have your manual height adjustment, and also you have your manual distance control via the big bar right here underneath the seat. Now, actually stepping inside of it, you don't exactly fall into this thing, but you do have to step down, being that it is a smaller sort of compact hatchback. And again, the interior in here, well, I can only describe it as bland, because, I mean, the dashboard, it's soft, kind of rubber-like touch, but it doesn't actually give. It's very, very firm. They have this simulated alloy trim, as GM likes to call it, this dark silver painted stuff here. You don't get any of that on the doors, and the only sort of blingy piece is the little Saturn logo right here on the front of the steering wheel cover. Now, you do get this kind of cool little LCD or kind of pixelated display here. Gives you your miles per gallon, your average fuel consumption, the temperature outside, and then of course the clock. Then you have things like your door locks, you have your hazard switch, seatbelt warning light, and so on. Your air conditioning vents looks like something that came out of my old Chevy Suburban. Then as far as the radio goes, I don't understand any of it. It actually is completely and totally unfathomable. You have this nice little keypad over here that looks like a telephone, so it may have hands-free Bluetooth, I don't know. You have an AM and FM radio, you have a CD player, you have your seat track buttons, and of course your volume control and power right here in the center. You also have things that say AS, RDS, LOC, and SCN. So I can only assume that's like auto scan, scan. I don't even know what the other two do. Again, this is so weird coming from Europe that GM decided, oh, we're going to throw this on the American market and see if we can sell it. Well, I can understand why they didn't. You can't really fathom a whole lot of this car. You have your sound button, which is like your... well, as you can see, it's actually operating it up there. How funny is that? The sound's off, and it tells you what's what. You've got your fader, balance, bass, treble, sound off, and everything else. Settings, and then, of course, you have your air conditioning system. This is a single-zone system, so you have your fan control over here on the right, temperature control right here, front and center. So as you can see, you turn it left, that turns your temperature down. Turning it all the way up is over here on the right. Then, of course, you have your different climate zones, face, feet, just your face and defrost, feet and defrost, and then just your feet. Now, again, like I said just briefly a moment ago, you can get this car with 2 separate transmissions. This one here is the 4-speed automatic, electronically controlled transmission, no manual shift or anything like that, just first, second, and third, then drive, neutral, reverse, park, the typical gear. But then you have this button here that's kind of a it's labeled with a snowflake, so I can only assume that's some kind of like snow mode or ice mode. I don't exactly know what that is. Again, this is the first time I've actually been able to get in one of these cars in quite a long time. I actually was never even able to explore one of these brand new. So this is a whole new experience for me, as it probably is for some of you Americans out there who've never seen one of these. As far as the steering wheel goes, it's tilting. It is telescoping. That's pretty interesting. So that's kind of a nice little gig. But again, it's a vinyl wrap steering wheel, very, very thin. Not really much to grip onto, but you do have these ridges that go all the way across the top portion of the wheel. As you can see, they're all these big nodules right here in the back. Then of course you have your instrument dimming, and you have automatic headlights, and then of course you have the standard halogen projectors as well. Now, it is a little chilly out here, so let's go ahead and power up the car and get the heater going in here. Steering wheel's locked on. Let's see if I can move it, hold it in place. There we go. As you can see, the gauge is very similar, very typical GM. They almost look like ones out of like a Buick Regal or something. But you turn the key and... well, what you guys are hearing out of that tiny little engine bay up front is a 1.8 liter twin cam 4-cylinder engine. Doesn't develop that much power, but it's kind of the same motor that Chevrolet used in the Sonic and in the Cruze and so on and so forth. And for a motor that's less than 2 liters, it is quite rev happy. I mean, it really doesn't take much, and the gas pedal actually does have a fair bit of weight to it. You actually don't have to push on it hard, but you feel a good bit of resistance. Same goes with the brake pedal as well. The gauges turn this real nice kind of amber color at light. You can't see it, of course, because it's during the daytime, but if you look close, you can see they turn that real nice kind of golden yellow color, which is very, very nice. I do like the silver rings as well, kind of protruding out towards you. As you can see, this one here has done a lot of miles already. This one is over 100,000 miles, 101,248 miles. As far as the steering goes, it's tight, very much European derived. It's very much point and shoot. Got a good bit of weight to it already. Feels very, very stable. And so now that we've had kind of an exploration of the driver's seat of this car, let's go ahead and pop the hood, if I can find the hood latch, which I think is down here somewhere. I think it's on this, here it is. They always hide it with these cars. Anyways, roll down the window, and let's take a gander under the hood. That door doesn't sound very good when it closes. Listen to that. Kind of clunky. If I can find the hood release. Aha! So under the hood of this 2008 Astra, you'll find GM's 1.8 liter Ecotec twin cam 16 valve inline 4-cylinder engine. This engine is equipped with a variable valve timing system. It is not direct injected. The numbers are okay for an engine of this size. It's 132 horsepower, 125 pound-feet of torque. It'll get about, actually, excuse me, it's 138 horsepower and 125 pound-feet of torque. The fuel efficiency numbers on regular unleaded gas, you're looking at 24 in the city, 32 on the highway. Reliability marks, I wouldn't say it's exactly the greatest motor. You know, they're still proving these motors even to this day. So I wouldn't say the reliability marks are 100%, but it is still a nice, quiet little fuel-efficient motor nonetheless. And of course, overseas, they have these in diesel variants too, but as you can see, the headlights are on. Got these nice little halogen projectors on. Looking pretty snazzy. A little bit of a clattery 4-cylinder engine, almost kind of sounds like a diesel. Crazy. So now that we've had kind of an up-close look at what's under the hood and what's directly in front of the driver, let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of this Astra. Now the doors are quite an interesting design. You can see how they're swept back up here at the topmost portion of the door pillar. So not a giant blind spot here, but definitely a weird design. You know, when you come to open the door, you're probably going to want to have to grab it here. Otherwise, you're going to end up smacking yourself in the chest or in the shoulder or something like that, or maybe smacking somebody you don't like, who knows. But as far as the back seat goes, it is pretty much your typical flat bench seat that can hold up to 3 people. I can see 3 seatbelt clickers there. So you can hold 5 people in this car I guess, comfortably. I mean, it is a pretty small car. We'll go ahead and find out. Step in the back here. Well, surprisingly, I sink down quite nicely. I mean, sitting down in the seat, you can feel that the seat does slope back a good bit. You got a nice little rest for your posterior right there. As far as legroom goes, I wouldn't say it is optimal at all. I can't even fit, well, I can fit 2 fingers between there, but that's about it. And it kind of gives you that view of that putrid basic dashboard. I mean, I can't stand it. It's just so bland and so basic. I mean, I've seen a lot of economy cars, but this kind of takes the cake when it comes to being a basic economy car nonetheless. You only even have 1 cup holder. You don't have anything else. Imagine putting a large double gulp from 7-Eleven back there, stepping on the gas and watching it go flying into the back seat. Not good marks in my book. The seats do appear to be 60-40 split fold, which is a good thing, so that does increase the cargo capacity just ever so slightly. Now the rear doors actually don't sound too bad when you close them. Gotta give the handle a hell of a tug, but doesn't sound too bad for a little bitty car. You can hear some of the European kind of clicks and noises out of this car. That trunk latch sounds like something out of my dad's BMW. Just listen to this. It sounds just like the trunk latch on my dad's Beamer. How weird. Now for the storage capacity, I would actually say this is actually half decent. It looks about the size of maybe a Kia Soul back seat, maybe about the size of a Mini, who knows, but you do have a nice little parcel shelf, which is definitely a nice thing to have. It keeps those peeping eyes from looking through the back of your vehicle. And again, the seats are 60-40 split fold, so you can take this little shelf out here and put a lot bigger objects through the rather small opening that is the trunk area of this vehicle. As you can see, XE, and again, that ever so European looking logo. Now, to those who are curious how much Humble Hyundai is actually selling this particular vehicle for, again, I'm not the salesperson here. I'm just the person who is the big car geek, loves to film all sorts of cars, doesn't matter what they are. I've included the link to the ad for this vehicle down in the video's description, along with all the accurate info on how to get a hold of the sales personnel here at Humble Hyundai, the phone number and address and everything. So if you wish to come by, take a look at this vehicle, test drive it for yourself, you can definitely come on by. We've got a lot of people here that will help you out. And of course, it also helps me out, just kind of a hint. Ugh. Door latches are a bit heavy. I mean, they stay in like 1 place, 2 place, and 3 places all the way out. They are a bit of a pain in the butt. The door handles, pardon my French, but they are like a bitch to open. You really gotta pull them hard in order to get them open. But then again, that's what you'd expect from a sort of Euro-American economy vehicle here. Now, I know I seem to be being a bit harsh on this car, but for someone who's only just getting to experience this car for the first time and drive one for the first time and so on, I'm not exactly thrilled, to be specific, but nevertheless, it's a rare car, so I'm enjoying it just as much as you guys are, just seeing it on my channel and actually being able to get a film of it. Now, sitting in the passenger side of this car, there is a good bit of legroom in here. I mean, it's about the same as being over on the driver's side, just without the pedals and whatnot. As far as the glove box, wow, it actually falls right into your lap. It's almost like a tray table in an airplane. You even got a drink holder here. That's awesome. Got a good bit of space back in there. You can actually get things such as your insurance card, your booklet for the vehicle, so on and so forth. Actually, this one I think was a tour book, so good thing if you get lost here in the big old US of A. At least you can find your way somewhere. Nevertheless, I've actually enjoyed going through this car, despite the fact I was a bit harsh on it as far as being a critic. But then again, for being a cheap sort of economy car, wow, don't even get a sunglasses holder, I just noticed that. For being a cheap General Motors economy car, I would say it's worth the money, just as a way to get from point A to point B. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed this nice little lengthy walkthrough of a 2008 Saturn Astra XE. Again, if you want to contact Humble Hyundai about this particular vehicle, you can see the description box below for all the accurate information and to view all new and pre-owned inventory. And if you guys want to see any other pre-owned cars that we have here on the lot, feel free to message me, but only if they are here at Humble Hyundai. I do not want to be traveling all over the entire US trying to find your guys' cars that you want to see. But anyways, I hope you've enjoyed exploring this rare little Saturn with me here, and I hope to bring you many more rare cars like this in the future. Till next time, guys, hope you had a great time, and I will see you guys soon.